hundreds of thousands of years before we meet Anakin Skywalker, lived the Ones, a family of Celestials, powerful Force wielders that represented different aspects of the Force. The daughter, who showed an affinity for the light side of the Force, while the son seemed to have tendencies towards the dark, and the father, who was the keeper of the balance between his two children. They existed on a remote, dark jungle planet. Now, on this planet, inside a large cave, was a Force nexus called the Font of Power. This fountain was steeped in dark side energy, and drinking from this font would grant you limitless power. Nearby, in a grotto, was another nexus called the Pool of Knowledge. If you bathe in the pool, you would learn all of the secrets of both past and present. The father warned his children not to drink from the font or to bathe in the pool, but naturally, they ignored his warning. The daughter was drawn to the Pool of Knowledge and bathed in it, while the son was drawn to the dark energy of the Font of Power and drank from that. This transformed both of them from Celestials that favored one side of the Force to pure embodiments. The son, now an embodiment of the dark side, while the daughter an embodiment of the light. They then claimed separate areas of the jungle for themselves and began to battle each other. One day, a mortal woman arrives on the jungle planet, appearing mysteriously in the courtyard. She becomes a servant of these celestial beings. She grew to love the children and even helped the father mend their relationship and restore balance between the siblings. She found ways to channel the son's destructive nature and eventually took on the role of the mother with the family. As she grew older, a fear began to take hold, a fear of her mortality, and that deep-rooted fear turned to desperation. She was no longer able to keep the balance with the children, so she did the unthinkable. She found her way into the Font of Power to drink just like the son did. Then she went and bathed in the Pool of Knowledge like the daughter. The father sees this and pulls her out with the Force, but it was too late. Instead of being transformed into a Celestial, she was twisted by these unnatural powers. Her mortal body was corrupted into this new, terrifying creature known as Abeloth. Her spirit was corrupted with the immense power she was never supposed to have. A smile with jagged, sharp teeth stretching from ear to ear. Blank, sunken black eyes with the smallest twinkle like a distant star, and tentacles for arms. She became insane, embodying everything that is chaos and destruction. Now, with this new chaotic power, Abeloth goes after the son and the daughter, bringing them to their knees. The father is able to step in. He saves his children, escaping the planet and this terrifying new bringer of chaos. Now, the family finds an insectoid species called the Killiks, who were once native to Alderaan, to help them construct the powerful Centerpoint Station as well as Sinkhole Station. Now, both of these were space stations capable of moving planets and black holes. Using Centerpoint and Sinkhole Station's tractor beams, they create a system of black holes that serve to maintain as a prison for Abeloth. This system of black holes would be known as the Maw Cluster, trapping Abeloth on the jungle planet deep inside. The father then moves his family to the monolith planet realm called Mortis, a place where he had control over keeping his children in balance. And several times throughout history, the current of the Force and the flow of time would change, usually caused by centuries of war. And during these times, Abeloth would escape her prison, releasing havoc and stirring conflict on the galaxy. And every time she escaped, the son and the daughter will return to the Killiks and re-imprison Abeloth back into the Maw on her jungle planet. Now, this cycle repeats itself for thousands and thousands of years. But all of this changed during the Clone Wars. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka were called to Mortis by the Ones, as the father wanted Anakin, the chosen one, to take his place and keep his children in balance. Anakin, of course, declines. The son kills the daughter, who passes her life force to Ahsoka. The father uses the dagger of Mortis to take his own life. Anakin then kills the son. Now, unknowingly, Anakin has now started a disastrous chain of events that would send the galaxy into chaos and change the current of the Force. Conflict after conflict. The Clone Wars, the Empire, the Rebellion, the New Republic, the Yuuzhan Vong War, all of this culminates with Jacen Solo becoming Darth Caedus. This sets off a chain of events that leads to the destruction of Center Point Station and, of course, the release of Abeloth once again. And with the ones now dead, and Mortis gone, Abeloth has free reign to throw the galaxy once again into chaos. Abeloth would find beings and absorb them, drain their energy and their life force. She would then make them a part of her. They would essentially become her avatars. During the Yuuzhan Vong War, the Jedi placed a secret base inside the Maw Cluster, where they hid Jedi younglings away from the chaos of war. They were unaware, though, that this was the hiding place and the prison of Abeloth. She was able to connect to the minds of many of these younglings, planting seeds within the fear and loneliness as they hid away on this secret base. Now, many years later, just before turning into Darth Caedus, Jacen Solo found a group of beings called the Mind Walkers on Sinkhole Station, who showed Jacen how to separate his mind from his body and travel to a place called Beyond Shadows. This realm was another path you could access both the Font of Power and the Pool of Knowledge, and it was in this realm the Mind Walkers tried to tempt Jacen into drinking from the font or bathing in the pool, but he resisted. However, he did have a vision, which happens just by being in the presence of these two Force Nexus, where he saw his daughter, Alana, on a throne surrounded by Sith acolytes. Now, this vision started his quest to change the future, turning to the dark side and becoming Darth Caedus. The civil war that follows leads to the destruction of Center Point Station, which destabilizes Sinkhole Station, releasing Abeloth into the universe. Now, the Jedi younglings hidden away in the Maw during the Yuuzhan Vong War were all around Jedi Knight age at this point. Abeloth began to call them through the Force, causing them to go insane, entering their minds, twisting their thoughts into thinking that all of the Jedi around them were imposters. Their only goal was to escape these Jedi imposters and back into the arms of Abeloth, where she would absorb and devour their souls. Once she had absorbed their victims, she could appear as them, like an avatar. She could also use the Force to raise them up into the air, break their bones, snap their joints in directions that they should never bend. Now, she did this with one of the Sith Lords from the Lost Tribe. Now, this Lost Tribe was an isolated civilization made up entirely of Sith. Abeloth would call to them as well. Now, Luke followed in the footsteps of Jacen, trying to find the reason he turned to the dark side. So he ended up at Sinkhole Station with these Mind Walkers and entered in the place called Beyond Shadows. Here, he found his late wife, Mara, who had been killed by Jacen when he turned to Darth Caedus. Mara warns Luke to leave Abeloth alone, and she called Abeloth one of the Old Ones. It eventually took Luke, the entire Jedi Order, and the Lost Tribe of the Sith to defeat all of Abeloth's avatars across the galaxy, and finally Abeloth herself after she had turned Coruscant into a volcanic ruin and killed billions of people. Now, let's jump back to the death of the Mortis gods during the Clone Wars, which now means that they are no longer there to put Abeloth back in her prison. Now, if I'm being completely honest, Disney bringing Abeloth into canon here and calling to Baylan during the Ahsoka series seems a bit unlikely. Not because it wouldn't make any sense, but after hearing her story in the Legends books, I think we can agree that it's a pretty bold concept, and the likelihood of Dave bringing her into the story right now is pretty low. It's very Lovecraftian and even dips its toe into the horror genre, but we did see zombie troopers, so maybe we're on to something. So if they decide to be bold and bring her in, what could we see? We have the Clone Wars, the rise of the Empire, the Rebellion, and now we're on the brink of yet another war with Thrawn. But something calls to Baylan on Peridia. Could this be Abeloth? Monoliths of the Mortis gods are here, with the daughters having been destroyed. Off in the distance, we see a glimmering object over the mountains. Could we have the monastery of the ones there? Could it be the location of the Font of Power and the Pool of Knowledge? Now, the Night Sisters wanted to flee the planet, and Baylan thinks it's to get away from the power far greater than their own. The Mortis gods are dead. My wish would be that if it is Abeloth, then this entire storyline would take up Ahsoka Season 2 with Baylan, Shin, Ahsoka, and Sabine, Anakin's Force Ghost, and of course, Abeloth. Let's leave Thrawn and the War with the New Republic maybe in the Mandalorian series. Ahsoka Season 2 could deal with just our Force users, Anakin the father, Ahsoka the daughter, Baylan the son, and maybe Sabine for, I don't know, moral support. They could send Abeloth back to her prison. I mean, Shin could even become an avatar for Abeloth. Now, Filoni would definitely have to do some reworking with Abeloth's backstory and how the Mortis gods imprisoned her here on Peridia instead of the Maw. But I think that they could do this with a Fellowship of the Ring type intro. Take the first 8 to 10 minutes of the episode 1 of season 2 and give us a history of events that lead to this point. Now, if you look at Peter Jackson, he did a brilliant job in the Fellowship of the Ring. Go back and watch like the first 8 minutes of that movie and you're going to see all of that. You can catch everyone up on the backstory really quickly. Now, I wish they would have done that type of intro in season 1 of Ahsoka and caught everyone up on how Thrawn and Ezra got to Peridia, and a quick recap of Rebels, the characters, and what would have happened with Sabine and Ahsoka. That way, they could concentrate on moving forward and just sprinkle in some flashbacks or dialogue in pieces here and there. I think it would have helped the people who didn't watch the Clone Wars or Rebels understand Ahsoka a little bit better. Now, I have a theory on what to expect for Thrawn in the upcoming war. Click here to see his plan, how it involves Dathomir and the Night Sisters. Thank you guys so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.